A 16-year-old boy was standing outside a big showroom of a clock, watching the sparkling watches in the mirror. He was astonished by the beauty of these amazing watches. But then the security guard who was standing there saw him and said, "Move away from the shop. You don't have the right to buy them." This orphan boy was no one else. He was the founder of Rolex, Hans Wilsdorf, who makes the most expensive watches in the world. But the question arises, how did an orphan boy, whose parents left him in his childhood, make the most expensive brand in the world? Not only that, Rolex is such a brand that the government in World War I made its soldiers wear Rolex watches. Because at that time, only their watches were so precise that they could properly attack at one place. Along with this, the first to climb Mount Everest, Tenzing Norgay and Edmund Hillary, Rolex watches. Many people don't know that Rolex sells watches worth 80,000 crores every year. But still, how does this company pay zero taxes? How does this happen? Why are taxes zero? And why are these watches so expensive? How did this guy achieve so much? To know the answers to all these questions, pick up the popcorn and enjoy this amazing. Hans Wilsdorf was born in 1881 in a place called Kulmbach in Germany. Wilsdorf had two siblings. They were happy with their family. But in 1892, when Wilsdorf turned 11, his life completely changed. Because this year, his mother died due to a disease. And exactly 1 year after that, his father died too. At the age of 12, Wilsdorf was an orphan. Wilsdorf's parents had some land that was sold by his uncle, and they put these three siblings in a school. The name of the school was Ernstium Coburg, which was in Bavaria. 13-year-old Wilsdorf had become alone in the hostel of the school, where the parents of the other children would come to meet him. Wilsdorf always lived alone. Every child made fun of him. Wilsdorf had very few friends, so Wilsdorf made studies his friend. He was very good at maths and English. Both these skills were going to be very useful to him in the future. Wilsdorf met a Swiss boy in the school who told Wilsdorf about a place in his country, Switzerland. The name of this place was La Chaux de Fonds. He told Wilsdorf that there are many industries here that make watches. Wilsdorf was very happy to hear this and decided that he would definitely go to Switzerland once in his life. After school, Wilsdorf moved to Geneva, Switzerland, at the age of 19. There, he took an apprenticeship in a company. This company used to export pearls. Wilsdorf wanted to work in a watchmaking company, and his dream came true soon, when Wilsdorf's friend helped him get a job in a company. The name of this company was Kuno Cotton, which was the biggest watch manufacturer in Switzerland. Here, Wilsdorf was working as a clerk, and they used to get around 40s every month. Wilsdorf's job was to wind pocket watches. Actually, at that time, men used to buy pocket watches, and wristwatches were only worn by girls. Everyone thought that wristwatches were like jewelry, which were only for girls. Along with that, there was a problem with all these watches. The problem was that all these watches had springs, which you had to wake up early in the morning and turn around so that the watch would run for a day. And once you turn it, the clock only worked for a day. If you move around too much, the clock would move completely. Wilsdorf still remembered the scene from the showroom when the security guard chased him away from the showroom. Whenever Wilsdorf would wind the clock, he always thought that he could make a very good, precise clock. When Wilsdorf turned 20, he had to serve in the military for 2 years, because it was mandatory to give this service in his country at that time. When Wilsdorf turned 25, he shifted to London, where he met a girl named Florence Franzen, who later became his wife. By this time, Wilsdorf had come to know how a company works and how watches are made. In 1905, Wilsdorf opened a company with his brother-in-law Alfred James Davis and named it Wilsdorf and Davis. They would buy watches from the existing Swaziland and sell them in cases in England. But the sales Wilsdorf was expecting were not selling as much as the watches. And Davis, which was a German name. That's why people were not buying watches. At that time, many people hated the name Germany and did not want to buy any of their stuff. In 1908, Wilsdorf quickly changed the name of his company and kept Rolex Watch Company Limited. Rolex was a premium name because of which their sales increased a lot. At this time, Wilsdorf was spending a lot of money on its research and development so that it could be a watch that was very precise and could run in water. In 1926, he fulfilled this dream masterpiece watch, which they named Rolex Oyster, because it was waterproof like an oyster, which was the first waterproof watch in the world. Even after making such an amazing watch, many people had doubts on this claim that a waterproof watch can't be made, because even those watches themselves were damaged by a drop of water. But for this too, there was Wilsdorf, who at that time, no competitor company could even think of. Wilsdorf understood an important thing, that just one perfect product is not enough. They had to tell a story to people, a story that people never forget. And Wilsdorf did exactly that. In 1927, Wilsdorf saw an opportunity that very few people were thinking of. There was a girl named Mercedes Glitch, who was an amazing swimmer. This girl said that she had crossed the cold English Channel. People laughed at her, and everyone said that it was impossible. I will show you again. As soon as Wilsdorf found out, he went to Mercedes and convinced her that whenever she swam in the English Channel, she should wear Rolex Oyster. Even though this girl could not pass the English Channel in this attempt, but what Mr. Wilsdorf wanted happened. The Rolex Oyster watch was working perfectly in the sea. Wilsdorf did not waste any time. He went to London Daily Mail and ran a full-page ad in which he proudly announced that this was not just an ad, it was a story that people had to hear. But Wilsdorf didn't stop here, understanding that people need to see this themselves. He kept fish bowls in London shops where Rolex watches were submerged in water along with the fish. When people saw these watches in the showroom, they were amazed at how these watches are still working. After this, when sales increased, Wilsdorf found out in 1953 that two legendary figures, Mount Everest, they also made their watch. When they became the first climbers to reach Mount Everest, Rolex watches were on their wrists. It was not a simple climb. It was not a small news. It was history. Rolex was at every step with these climbers, with zero temperature and intense pressure. Once again, they proved that this watch was made for legends. Wilsdorf knew how to use these moments. Wilsdorf published news of Everest's success everywhere. In 1935, race car driver Malcolm Campbell broke the world speed record. He was driving at a speed of 300 miles per hour, and he had a Rolex watch in his hand. Campbell, who was known for his precision, gave a very big statement. In this statement, he said, "When I am driving at this speed, I want something that I can trust completely. And Rolex is that watch." After this, Rolex Oysters got a lot of certificates. First, they got the Swift Certificate of Chronometric Precision, the prestigious observatory-certified Rolex wristwatch as Class A precision. Due to all these marketing and certification, Rolex became a premium brand. During World War I, the watch was not just a jewel, but could save the lives of millions of soldiers. Soldiers who had to coordinate their attacks for the war, for which precise watches were needed. If one battalion's watch was showing some more time, and the other battalion, which was standing far away, was showing their time, then they would never be able to attack the enemy together. The government decided on this moment that they would give Rolex watches to their soldiers, whether it was mud or rain. The government's trust in Rolex watches increased its sales in the normal public. Rolex Oyster had created a sensation, but Wilsdorf wanted to do something better. All the watches at that time, including Oyster, had a problem. They had to be manually winded. Wilsdorf had to make a watch at that time, which had to be mechanically operated. And he introduced the world's first self-winding wristwatch, Rolex Oyster Perpetual. If you wear this watch, it will charge automatically from your movement, and every time you take the watch out, you don't need to mechanically charge it. This ingenious advancement made Rolex's reputation even better. But even after being so successful, fate had something else in store for it. As the years went by, Wilsdorf saw his every dream come true. But in 1944, his closest person, his wife Florence Francis, left him. After this grief, Wilsdorf went into deep thought. They didn't have any children, So he started worrying about his death. What will happen to Rolex? After thinking for many months, Wilsdorf took a big decision. In 1945, he established the Hans Wilsdorf Foundation, which is a private trust in which he donated all his shares to Rolex. They made the foundation in such a way that Rolex will be given all the profits it will make. All this will be given to donations, education, arts, and social welfare programs. When Wilsdorf died on 6th July 1960, hence the Wilsdorf Foundation ensured that Rolex will always remain independent and will never leave its innovation because of any public shareholder or corporate takeovers. Now, some of us must be thinking that why doesn't Rolex give taxes like other companies? If a person owns a foundation, then under Swiss law, their profits are reinvested in the foundation, which is used for the benefit of the world, and therefore, they do not have to pay taxes. Our biggest learning from this story is that if Wilsdorf, who became orphan at the age of 13, who was kicked out of a showroom, today they have made a brand that yearns to wear the world. In short, everything is possible. Whoever your friends or family members are who are a little troubled, please share this video with them on WhatsApp. And I know they will love you for this. I hope you liked this video. See you in the next video.